Hi there, it's Diane the Nursing Geek from the future. So this video is going to be basically a compilation of all the work I've done on the second and larger of my two story projects for the Storybook Village, which is where this is. Ooh, let's see what we can get to see. This is another collaborative project that was the brainchild of Lady Vivian, in which people claimed spots to build various different stories. You see Rapunzel's hair hanging down out of the tower over there. You can see the three little pigs' house is over there. So there were various things like that. My brother sort of dared me indirectly to do a particular story when I had showed him my first story that I had built. So let's come take a look over here at that first story. And this is some of what was initially supposed to be on the first clip of this compilation that's coming up, but something went very wrong with how it recorded. It shows up like the size of a postage stamp on the screen, and that is not particularly useful or, visible. Speaking of visible, can this render in? Yes, thank you. So this is the first story that I did, The Little Engine That Could. Ended up not so little because, when you're trying to make, like I said about the Impala for Fawny's build contest, you're trying to make things look close to how they would in real life, you end up having to scale them up quite a bit. So I found a tutorial for a train engine, liked this one. It's definitely not the little engine anymore, but it'll do. So I happened to show this to my brother, and first of all, every time I show him stuff that we do on the server, he says we must be doing this all in creative, which no. And then he noticed that there is a ravine down there. Oh, I never picked up that crafting table. Let me get that. I should get that out of there. But yeah, there's a ravine down there. And he said, oh, you should go build Humpty Dumpty over there if you're so good at doing this stuff in survival. Now, I'm not that good at doing this stuff in survival. Like that massive Dr. Seuss pixel art over there, or those giant lightsabers. Those are people who are really good at doing this stuff. That amazing ship over there. This whole village transformation. I'm kind of a newbie builder, but I took him up on the challenge, and I recorded most of the work that I did on the Humpty Dumpty falls down the ravine build, which you can see a little bit of from here, because like I said, this is from the future. I'm going to spare you that initial clip where everything's the size of a postage stamp. Somebody who also had better editing skills than me might be able to fix that. I have no idea how to fix that. So rather than subject you to that, although I will gladly subject my brother to it, I'm going to cut from here to the actual building process and just put it all on time-lapse, because it took place over the course of about a month, because it was just little grabs of time here and there, mostly on the weekends, whenever I was able to, and then putting it all together. Let's get to that, especially since behind me over here we can see the sun is going down, and I have no armor, and there are about to be a whole lot of mobs. So, off we go. So one of the first things you'll see is I'm actually taking part of this apart because I had originally mapped it out on graph paper, and the scale I had done it on graph paper was going to make it way too huge for the village. It was just going to tower over everything, which it kind of, I mean, it does a little bit anyway, but it would have been much worse. So I had to take down several rows and start over and run around in circles while I figure out what in the heck I'm doing. You can also see that I had created a little bit of a safety net for myself by covering that section of the ravine with dirt and creating a little pool of water, so that if I did fall off and I couldn't figure out how to use my elytra because I had never used it before, and hadn't taken a potion of slow falling, that I would still be able to just go right into the water. So yes, overkill. Have you met me? I'm really a scaredy cat. So my brother thought that I had picked a spot that was not part of the ravine when I showed him this. It's like, no, I built that over the ravine. The ravine was there, and I went back and showed him from before. So I have already showed this to him, to prove that we do this in survival, and that all these precautions are necessary, which they would not be in creative because I could just fly around. Oh, there's a problem that comes up with this scaffolding system that I started using, wherein, okay, yeah, I jumped down rather than digging my way down the scaffolding, so then I start another pillar behind the previous one till I climb up to it. I mean, it worked, but we'll see in a minute what the problem was with that, especially since it took me several days to do this, and actually a couple of weeks because I had to take quite a bit of time in between. This is a really busy time in the semester, so I did not get to play every night and record every night. This was more of just being done on the weekends. So, yeah, I did go with sandstone for the main egg color. I felt like that was a better option for an egg than plain white, even though that's what people usually seem to use. But even white eggs aren't like super white usually, and I'm from New England, and our local eggs tend to be on the brownish side. They're like somewhere in between white eggs and brown eggs. So I just figured sandstone was the way to go, and I have some kind of ruined, not as in decorative ruins, but as in somebody went there and ruined it, structure in the desert not far from my Savannah ranch. So it was easy enough to get plenty of sandstone. It was already wrecked. If anything, I feel like I cleaned it up a little. I may have missed the thing that I wanted to point out about the scaffolding. Darn it. Need to be stepped back away from it on the other side. But, and now that we're getting past the mouth, yeah, can't really see it. And I'm not going to go back and re-record, but when I was walking over from the village is when I realized that since I had only really gotten up to about Humpty's mouth, and the way the scaffolding was with these sort of tiers of pillars of dirt going up to Humpty's mouth, it made it look like Humpty was vomiting. And I apologize yet again to all of those in the Storybook Village who were stuck looking at that for the better part of a week before I realized the problem and dug it down. And, oh yes, here's me cranking out some potions of slow falling and making them as long as possible. I tried a couple of times to make them go even longer, like add more redstone. It doesn't work that way. So, in case you were thinking of trying that, it's a waste of your time. So, since I had to veer off from the what I had done on the graph paper, that meant a lot of guesswork in terms of how I would taper the egg shape. And as you can see, I kept erring on the side of giving Humpty Dumpty a triangular head, which is not exactly egg-shaped. So that was just a lot of going back and forth to figure it out. I probably could have just done the math and cut the squares on the graph paper in half, but that just felt like more work than what I ended up doing, and who knows, probably about the same. Oh no, this is when I realized it looks like Humpty's vomiting. Yeah. On that side. And that's also when I realized I needed to cover the back of the face, because you really can't be facing both ways. That doesn't quite work. And more corrections, more adjustments. Still trying to get better egg shape. And then clean up my mess. Because, you know, it took me a while to realize that instead of scooping out the water, I should have just put dirt in there and sopped it up. That would have made much more sense. But hey, eventually I got there and still had pockets of source blocks. Yay! And then dithered over what to do about the glass. I have a silk touch pick. That was really stupid to be worried about. Just get in there. Alright, that little toe sticking through the glass I never did quite figure out what to do with, and I decided I'm just going to label it as a feature rather than a bug. If people want to be able to touch Humpty's foot as they are examining the exhibit, fine. So now that Humpty sitting on a wall is done, the next thing was Humpty in the middle of the Great Fall. For a hot minute, I thought I was going to try to have Humpty Dumpty falling at an angle, like a 45-degree angle, looking down towards the ravine floor. And then I realized that was a nightmare to map out, and that I was not going to do that. So I basically just copied the shape that I had above, and Humpty falls straight down, even though that is not how it would ever work. So lots of scaffolding. I didn't make a pool to jump into this time. I considered it, but then didn't, because I was getting the hang of the potion of slow falling. I had plenty of them, and I think I had used the elytra at least once at this point and had a feel for how it would let me redirect which way I was falling and land softly, which is all I wanted it to do. I've not yet tried using like the rockets to actually fly around all over the place. That just hasn't been something I've been interested in doing yet. But I may check that out at some point. I noticed that the Tall Turtle recently built a giant Pez dispenser that is supposedly elytra safe, although he is also not responsible for any deaths. So I don't know if I should check that out or not. I mean, it's not like dying on this server is a huge deal. As long as you don't die in lava, you should be able to go back and get your things. You just lose levels. So I don't know why I get so worked up over it, because the stakes aren't that high. But whatever. That's just me. Finally realizing, oh yeah, ladders are a thing. Why don't I use them instead of pillaring up and down repeatedly? And then I realized I also needed something to help me stay on the ladder, because I cannot ladder. Well, I can. I'm getting better at it, but I still manage to fall off ladders entirely too often, or I stand and jump up and down over them and can't actually go down. Haven't quite got the knack of that yet. So now we're finally up to visible eggshell, and realizing that, oh, I have to carve away part of the ravine to make room for this. Because, you know, if Humpty's touching these jagged parts of the ravine wall, that looks ridiculous, because then he would have been able to catch himself and not fallen. So I had to cut a lot of that away for the fall to be realistic. I probably should have cut more away between where he's sitting and where he's falling, but I didn't. I don't know, I suppose I could go back and do so, even though the village is open now. It is, as Lady Vivian says, on growing, so we can still tweak things or create new builds. I hadn't really wanted his head to poke up over the ravine either, but he's just that darn huge. So, yeah, great. Now I can get all the way to the top. Now what? I gotta fix the angle that the sides of the egg are coming up. Didn't end up perfectly matching the other one, which is silly because I should have been able to match it block for block, but again, I just wasn't being that much of a perfectionist. I was just going to be happy if I got it built and it and didn't die. So the fact that his head's a bit elongated, I'm just attributing that to, gravity. He's falling. So the rounded part of the egg falls faster than the rest, which is not actually how physics works. But then again, this is Minecraft. Minecraft has its own physics. So, whatever. More brewing, more potions of slow falling. And might as well harvest and plant some netherwort while I'm at it. And I went and took a nap so I wouldn't get phantoms. So I missed a piece in between where I did a little more on the walkway down, but we'll get back to that in a minute once we finish Humpty falling. Because I did realize that there needed to be a little more space to be able to really see Humpty falling from the other side of the ravine the way I had intended. So that took some doing once the actual pixel art was done. Again, I ran out of dirt, so okay, now let's use wood. I cannot wait. One of the things that I cannot wait for in 1.14 is the scaffolding, because that seems really cool. And not having to use all sorts of other materials, and actually having, a block that's intended to be your scaffolding and works as scaffolding. I'm looking forward to that a lot. That and the composter are probably the two things I'm looking forward to the most. Oh, and there's another one that lets you take enchantments off things, because I have a pick that I had foolishly put fortune on. I was trying to put, it was supposed to be my Silk Touch pick. I ended up having to make another pick for Silk Touch, because I got it in my head that I had to do with the enchantment table first, and it kept coming up fortune, so I put fortune on it and then realized, which I should have known, that you cannot have both fortune and Silk Touch on the same tool. That makes an awful lot of sense. So whenever we get that block, I look forward to disenchanting that, unless I find a reason to maybe throw some other enchantments on that thing, because it's only got fortune 1, and give it away, maybe as a prize for something or other. But otherwise, I'll just wait until we get that block that can unenchant things and turn it into something else. Although I don't really need another pick. One with fortune and one with Silk Touch kind of is enough, considering both have mending. Alright, oh, the nose and mouth on this was tough because, like I said, I didn't match the other Humpty block for block. So getting it so that the nose wasn't right on top of Humpty's mouth was a bit of a challenge. Because I built in the wrong direction. I should have started with the mouth like I had done with the other and worked my way up, not started with the eyes and worked my way down. Lesson learned. Of course, I changed his mouth so that he's actually, yelling because he's falling. Because that's what you do when you're falling. And yeah, trying to get a look from up there. And that's when I read that the nose just looked really foolish where it was. So back up again we go to fix that. Oh yeah, and to do the feet and the arms. And then clean everything up. It always cracks me up when I see, whether it's my avatar or somebody else's avatar in their inventory, looking down at eyeballs following the cursor. I don't know why I find that so amusing, but I do. So, okay. Yeah, Humpty's got legs, but now Humpty needs arms. So, pillaring up. And fixing that. And then getting rid of my scaffolding. Again, really looking forward to intentional, like, actual scaffolding being a thing. And, yeah, Humpty's just got his hands up in the air while he's falling. And cleaning up, cleaning up, cleaning up. Not always very efficiently. Yeah, that pillar, it would have made more sense to chop that from the top down, not from the bottom up. Again, Minecraft physics. But, whatever, it got done. Ah, dirt, dirt everywhere. Lots and lots of dirt. Dirt and more dirt. And I'm seeing now that people had said stuff to me in chat apparently that I totally missed at the time because I was so intent on what I was doing. I apologize if you're somebody who's on the server and you ever say hi and I don't say hi back. I am not deliberately ignoring you. I'm either AFK, which it does happen sometimes, or just so focused on what I'm doing that I'm not noticing chat at all. Yeah, so this is where I turned this particular level of the staircase into more of an observation deck, which took a bit more terraforming than I had originally intended to do because I really wanted to work with the existing ravine and not carve it up too much. But people wouldn't have been able to see anything. That's why I had to keep going topside to really see. Because I had left too much of the ravine there as I shoveled down the stairs, or dug down the stairs. So I had to open that up quite a bit more to make it possible to actually view Humpty having the Great Fall. So decided to go all out and decorate it up a little and everything. Oh, I did edit out a lot of the time what I would do at night if I didn't continue building through the night is I would go to my Savannah Ranch and just go fish and mend up my tools a bit. Fishing is not the most efficient way to do your tools, especially if you're not doing some sort of AFK fish farm thing, which we don't really do AFK farms on this server. So it takes a while. It doesn't mend up a whole lot, but at least I feel like I'm getting something done. So yeah, I decided to be a little more decorative in here too, and with the lighting, rather than just having torches everywhere, use some glowstone. And yeah, there's Humpty with the king's horses and king's men. Okay, so that cut out quickly. Anyway, here we have the king's horses, one of whom is standing on one of the king's men. because that's a thing. Trying to put Humpty's pieces back together again, and of course failing, because that is how the story ends. All the king's horses, all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again. So that's it for that. Apparently we have a zombie villager over here who came to visit. I'm not breaking through the glass to go deal with him in one way or another. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. Didn't get too dizzy with all the time-lapsing and fast-forwarding. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.